AEW President Tony Khan has released the first public statement regarding Jeff Hardy's DUI arrest just yesterday. We have an update when it comes to Jeff Hardy's future in All Elite Wrestling and if and when he could return to the company. All this and more in this breaking and evolving AEW news story. So, of course, the fallout from Jeff Hardy's DUI arrest continues, and we have an update now when it comes to the first public comments by, I guess, AEW themselves. Tony Khan, the president, CEO, head of creative, general manager of AEW. We also have some answers when it comes to the future of Jeff Hardy in All Elite Wrestling and his status with the company going forward and what's next for him when it comes to his recovery, or I guess his next steps after this incident. Of course, this comes after Jeff Hardy's arrest. Yesterday, he was pulled over in the state of Florida. He was nearly 4 times over the legal limit for alcohol. He had 2 breathalyzers at the time. As I mentioned, they were nearly 4 times over the limit. He was arrested on multiple charges, including, of course, driving while under the influence. Another one was driving with a suspended / revoked license, what have you. So they're all serious charges, and a lot of people were wondering what was the response going to be from AEW. Of course, Jeff Hardy was scheduled to compete on Dynamite on Wednesday. Now, that ladder match seemingly has been pulled. It's certainly been pulled from advertisements. We spoke earlier today that AEW have requested to Warner Media that Jeff Hardy be pulled from all advertisements going forward as well. And a lot of people, myself included, said this should really throw question marks and doubts over the future of Jeff Hardy in All Elite Wrestling. How many opportunities and chances is this guy going to get? Of course, we want to see the guy get the help that clearly he needs, but also, when is enough enough? Again, as I mentioned earlier on today, the guy was nearly 4 times over the legal limit. The video footage, the dash cam footage has come out of Jeff Hardy's arrest in Florida, and look, whenever these things come out, I always do my best, to be honest, not to watch them, because I have no interest and I don't want to see anyone at their worst. I don't have the need to want to see people at their lowest ebb, but I felt for the need of, to talk about it with you guys today, I should watch it. And it's horrible viewing, to be honest. It's really serious viewing as well. There's, I think, 3 police officers. They draw their guns at one point, legitimately. I think Jeff Hardy, at one point, possibly attempts to drive off as well. He can, at points, barely stand on his feet. He's clearly, really out of it at the time. He's talking about needing, or going to a doctor's appointment as well, talking about having a brain scan, because, of course, he was just knocked out just a couple of weeks ago, and seriously knocked out, and even that raises questions about if he sort of spilt the beans there that he still needed to go and get this brain scan, this doctor's appointment. Why on earth was he booked for a ladder match on Dynamite, let alone getting behind a car? Forget the alcohol part of it. Even that's dangerous in itself. There are so many questions here, and we're really just starting to see the full picture of how bad this situation is and how alarming this situation truly is as well. Now, I mentioned Tony Khan has released a public statement. His brother Matt Hardy as well, it must be said, released a statement earlier today as well. We'll touch on that in a second too, because I think it's worth pointing out what Matt Hardy said too. And to be honest, it was more as you would expect, Hardy defending his brother, but not so much, going in, as it were, on him as well. So, All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan have released the following statement. This is what Tony Khan has said. It's a press release. It's also been put on social media from Tony Khan's Twitter account. So here's what the statement has to say. Quote, "We were able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon. AEW does not condone Jeff's alleged behavior. We've made it clear to Jeff that we'll assist him in getting treatment for the substance abuse issues, which he has indicated that he's open to receiving. In the interim, he is suspended without pay, and he can only return to AEW upon successfully completing treatment and maintaining his sobriety." Now, they also put out a helpline for people that are struggling with similar issues or have been affected by this story, by this incident. I think the big thing to take away from that is, well, there's a couple of things, frankly, to take away from that. I think the first being that a lot of people, and this is why social media is just so bizarre and strange to me at times, because there's almost been criticism of AEW over the course of the last 24 hours in saying, why have they been so slow to release a statement? Why haven't they released a statement? Why hasn't AEW said anything? Why hasn't Tony Khan said anything? frankly, the reason they probably haven't said anything is to establish the facts. They've probably not said anything to try and figure out what is going on, or as they mentioned in the statement itself, the reason they hadn't said anything until now is because they didn't have any contact with Jeff Hardy. They don't know the full situation. All they know is what we know. They know and have seen the police report. They know and have seen the footage online. They know and have seen the mugshot like we have. Apart from that, they haven't heard from him. And the welfare of the person, once you've established the facts that everyone's okay and nobody was hurt during this, which again is my primary concern, but once you've established that nobody was hurt, you then, as an employer, or just out of a duty of care, you find out if the person involved is okay, if they're back at home. We know that Jeff Hardy was bailed out, used a bail bondsman, and he is now home. But it would be upon AEW to speak to the talent first. We're talking about a company being talent-centric and focused on talent. AEW could have, and maybe other companies would have, released a quick statement saying, we don't condone the actions, rah, 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 and haven't even spoken to the talent. It's important to speak to the talent first, especially when, as they mentioned in the statement, they're suspending him. Jeff Hardy is suspended without pay, and there is a high chance if he doesn't want to get help or he refuses to get the help that clearly he needs, he will not be coming back to All Elite Wrestling. So the key things in that one, first of all, is that the reason it took so long for a statement to be released was because they hadn't had any contact with Jeff Hardy. They've managed to establish that, resume contact with Jeff Hardy this afternoon. So that's a positive. Again, they don't condone the behavior. Why would they? They want to help Jeff Hardy. They are willing to help Jeff Hardy treat these substance abuse issues that he's clearly having. And Jeff Hardy, I think a key bit here is that he's indicated he's open to receiving. Of course, when that release happened, Jeff Hardy didn't want to go to rehab. He felt at the time he didn't need to. Well, something has changed between now and then, clearly, because now he needs to. If you watched that video last night, clearly the guy needs help, and he should not at all be behind the wheel of a operating vehicle. No doubt in my mind about that. Now, again, I think one of the key things out of this as well is that Jeff Hardy is suspended without pay, and he can only, this is the key thing here, he can only return to AEW upon successfully completing treatment. If Jeff Hardy refuses to get treatment, or Jeff Hardy says, no, I don't need to go to rehab, if Jeff Hardy refuses, he will not be back in All Elite Wrestling. Now, in AEW, they've drawn their line in the sand here. They can't go back on their word. If Jeff Hardy appears once again in an AEW ring, it would be because he's completed treatment. Again, I don't know even how I feel about that at this point. The incident's a bit too fresh for me, frankly, because as I mentioned, how many opportunities is this guy going to get? How many? How many second chances? How many third chances? How many times has he done something, or he's been under the influence or whatever, and he's gone to rehab, or he's got help, or he's got straight, or what have you, and then he comes back and everyone goes, oh, it's great. Jeff Hardy's back, and he's clean, and he's sober, and now he's put all of that stuff in behind him. And I know addiction's a lifelong battle. I know it doesn't go away, but you do have to send a message. You have to. And if Jeff Hardy is even in the slightest on the fence about possibly going to rehab, then that's it in itself. That's enough. That would be my concern. So, as I mentioned, the key thing here is that they have been able to resume contact with Jeff Hardy. The key thing is that he is suspended without pay, and the only way that he's able to come back to AEW is if he successfully completes treatment. Now, we don't know how intensive that treatment's going to be. We don't know if it's 30 days. We don't know if it's 60 days. We don't know if it's 90 days. We don't know. The key thing here is that nobody is hurt, everyone's okay, and Jeff Hardy is open to getting the help he needs. But it shouldn't be a case of, while I'm open to it, it should be a case, no, you're getting it. And I know you have to, the journey to recovery involves you helping yourself first, but it's just, again, as I mentioned earlier on, it's incredibly sad. Now, I mentioned we were going to talk about Matt Hardy's statement briefly as well. Matt Hardy has released a public statement, his first since Jeff Hardy's arrest. He said today on Twitter, quote, "It was disheartening to hear the news about my brother yesterday. Recovery isn't a linear process, and I'll continue doing whatever I can to help my brother be healthy. Being healthy and well is the most important thing for Jeff, his wife, his children, and our family at this time." So again, what do you expect? He's not going to drag his brother through the mud. He's not going to blame him or anything like that. And he's doing what a family member can do in these difficult times when something like this happens, is that support them and try and guide them to getting the help that they need. Ultimately, you can do so much, and it depends what steps you need to take for them to get that help. But he's there for his brother, as he should be. But that's the latest news when it pertains to Jeff Hardy. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right-hand corner. And I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.